So sit yourself on your lift and just come into a good cross-legged position. Just feel that you're kind of level underneath your seat bones. Just walk your feet underneath your knees and then just adjust the calf flesh so you can bring your knees down low. Ideally kind of slanting, the thighs slanting downwards towards your knees. But feel ultimately that you are level, that there's a levelness in the feeling underneath the seat bones. So you might feel quite level at the top, but we need to kind of develop that sense of feeling, of kind of creating these kind of images in our head of the from the feeling of the pose, a bit like a 3D printer, I suppose. So just if you've been there and you realize, actually, no, I'm not level at all, then just re-level yourself and then grip around the knees lightly and lift and open the chest. So as you lift and open the chest, often you kind of overarch in, or I do anyway, overarch in my lumbar area. So in order to avoid that action, it's what we were doing last week, drawing those abdominal walls back. So you lift and open the chest, quite a kind of a gross action. And then the subtle action is to draw these abdominal walls back. Draw the shoulders down away from your ears so that you've got length in the neck. So listen to the sound of the breath. Soften your jaw, soften your tongue. Just take some deep in breaths and deep out breaths. Soft in the jaw, soft in the tongue. Bring your hands into Namaste, lengthen from the armpits into the elbows, and the elbows into the heels of the hands. So you feel space in the elbows, you feel space in the armpits rather, so that you can breathe and expand into the armpit chest. Lengthen from the heels of the hands into the fingertips. Breathing deeply in through the nose and out through the nose. Just listening to the sound of the breath, feeling the upward and outward expansion of the chest with the in-breath. Softening the shoulder blade muscles, so around the trapezius muscles, soften that so that you can breathe into the back chest as well as the front chest. And with an exhalation, allow your eyes to gently close. So just continuing focusing on the breath, on the full expansion of the chest with the in-breath and with the out-breath. Just listening to the sounds of the breath. Filling the lungs from the bottom to the top and emptying the lungs from the top to the bottom. Just listen to the sound of the breath. Just set the ears to the sound of the breath. Just observe the feelings of the breath, just like we were feeling underneath the seat bones. Feel how the breath enters and expands inside. Gently draw your chin down to meet your chest. Spend a moment to seek to generate a genuine, heartfelt sense of gratitude, something or someone. Hold on to that feeling of abundance in the heart area as you release your hands down to meet your knees, palms facing upwards. And then as you raise your head, allow your eyes to softly open. Just grip around your knees and lift and open the chest, drawing the shoulders down, elevating the neck and the head upwards. Take a good, strong, deep inhalation in through the nose. And then turn with the exhalation, turning the abdomen, the ribs, the shoulders, keeping the neck soft. Digging the back hand firmly into the floor as you turn, using the out breath to intensify the turn. Just listening to the sound of the breath as it enters and as it exits. Come back to the center, grip around your knees, lift and open the chest, drive the breath in through the nose, and then turn to the left side. Breathe in nice and softly in through the nose and out through the nose, turning with the exhalation. And then come back to the center, just come down off your lift, sit back on your heels and come into Adho Mukha Virabhadrasana. So keeping contact between the seat bones and the heels, pressing the palms into the floor, stretching the hands away, and then bring your forehead down. As you remain down, just observe, do you feel as though you're in a straight line? Or do you feel like you're kind of slightly out of kilter with your mat? So use your mat to help you to define your straight lines. But observe at the same time, does that straight line, when you come into Adho Mukha Virabhadrasana, have you placed your feet and your legs correctly? And if you haven't, then you won't be in a straight line. So correct it and come back into the pose. Breathe nice and deeply. In the same way, drawing the breath from the bottom of the lungs to the top of the lungs and emptying from the top to the bottom. In Adho Mukha Virabhadrasana, it sometimes feels as though the breath is constricted by the abdomen. It shows you the importance of the abdomen in the breath. But continue to do your best to feel the breath from the lungs. Walk your hands back to your knees and then sit back up on your heels again. So when we come forwards, we often feel that there's constriction in the abdominal region. So have a block for your head. But as we come forwards, rather than coming forwards with the arms outstretched or with the arms on the hips, we're going to have the hands in the abdomen. And then as we come forwards, you might kind of find it difficult to kind of balance, but you're going to draw this abdominal flesh outwards. When you come down, you're going to rest your head on a high block and then draw that abdominal flesh outwards and then stretch the arms away. So the abdomen, so you come down onto the lower edge, the abdomen should feel a little freer. So see if you can reach that samanic breath that really helps us to identify our energy. Breathing down into the abdomen. So we broaden that abdominal flesh, drawing the abdominal walls back. So the block underneath the head just gives you space. Just remove that block, bring your head back down onto the floor, and see if you can maintain that action of softness in the abdomen, even though the abdomen is likely to be constricted. If you broadened outwards, and if you continue to broaden outwards, then breathing down into the abdomen, that samanic breath becomes more possible. Come up onto all fours, have your hands as wide apart as the mat. So little fingers on the edge of the mat, stretching the thumbs towards each other. Really see if you can kind of press the air from underneath the palms, out from underneath the palms, turn your toes under, and then come up into dog down, Adho Mukha Svanasana. So again, feel that you can broaden out that abdominal region. So you can't do it because your hands are on the floor at the moment. We haven't straightened legs yet. I want you to really focus on broadening the skin of the abdomen, drawing the abdominal walls back, and breathing down into the abdomen, that samanic breath. And then straighten your legs. So the samanic breath, I always find it a much more kind of grounding breath, where you take, where you make contact with your energy. When you breathe into the abdomen, you draw, you become more conscious of the energy of the body. And that's one way of finding the energy of the skin. So keep the legs straight, let the head hang down, breathe in nice and softly in through the nose and out through the nose. Breathing all the way down into the abdomen. Activating the legs, tightening the kneecaps, hitting the thigh muscles firmly into the bone, pushing the fronts of the thighs through to the backs of the thighs. Continuing to breathe down into the abdomen. If I'm holding you too long, then obviously rest. Step forwards, come up into a standing position. And then have your feet as wide apart as your mat, turning your toes in so that the outside edge of your feet are in line with the edge of the mat. Just be in Tadasana, stretching the arms down, lifting from the hips into the armpits. Just taking some deep in breaths, deep out breaths. Trying to excavate the in-breath down into the abdomen. On an in-breath, raise your arms up to Virabhadrasana. Drawing the breath down into the abdomen, keeping the legs really firm, tightened at the kneecaps, hitting the thigh muscles into the bone, turning the thigh muscles inwards, the frontal thigh muscles inwards, broadening the backs of the thighs. Draw the in-breath down into the abdomen, and then on an out breath, come forwards using any equipment that you need to support your back. So just come halfway with your hands on the wall or on a table like this. Otherwise, coming all the way down, using blocks for underneath your hands if you can't reach. It just comes down into half Uttanasana. So half Uttanasana especially is a good pose for kind of really defining and identifying this samanic breath, the breath that goes into the abdomen. So just breathe deeply, charging up the legs. Just feel that the legs are working evenly. Tighten the kneecaps, lift the thighs up towards the crease of the groin. Turn the fronts of the thighs in, the backs of the thighs out. Lift in the seat bones. Driving the front chest from the abdomen all the way to the diaphragm, to the collarbone, to the chin. Breathing down into the abdominal region. If there's problems with your back, stay at the stage that you are with your blocks. If you can reach the floor, then find the floor. If you can go further in, then we're going to reach around the ankles, but we're going to draw the abdominal flesh apart first. So get hold of the abdomen, draw that abdominal flesh, however little or much you have, draw that abdominal flesh out to the sides, and then reach down, find the outsides of the heels. Feel that you can continue to broaden that abdominal flesh. Breathing down into the abdomen, bending your elbows, and then letting the upper body stretch down and draw in between the legs. So maintaining that samanic breath. Breathing down into the abdomen, observing that breathing into the abdomen really does give you connection into the physical body. You can feel the legs with more awareness. So charging up the legs, drawing the body in and down. So the action around the ankles is almost like you kind of hold the ankles, but you're trying to pick them up. So you as you pick the ankles up off the floor, but you keep them like stamped down. The action in the upper chest is to kind of lengthen, bending the elbows out and drawing the body in. Just release the hands, come back to half Uttanasana. Extend the chest away. So it's almost like we become a four-legged animal, where four legs feels kind of more natural. And then bring your hands into your hips and then come up into a standing position, bending your knees if you need to. And then come up into Tadasana. Lift in and open in the chest. So we've given ourselves a good kind of opening up, especially at the backs of the legs. So lift and open the chest, drive the spine upwards. Bring your arms out nice and wide in towards the chest, and then step or jump. So just feel that you can find your levelness. So there's neither one leg nor the other is kind of taking precedence at this stage. Turn your left toes in steeply, so more so than you would do for Trikonasana. Turn them in steeply, so even if you have to kind of cheat a little and turn and kind of lean back in order to get that action. And then rotate on the other leg, and then bring the arms out to the side. So you swing your arms all the way out to the side. Now at this stage, this back leg probably feels like it's stuck. So a good way of overcoming that is to come up onto the toes and then rotate the thigh, tadasanaizing that leg, and then maybe you go too wide. Turn the heel out, lift and open the chest. Feel that there's even activity between the two legs. So it's not just the front leg, it's not just the back leg, but you're working with those both, with both of those legs with evenness. Doesn't really help if I wobble, does it? Turn the palms up to face the ceiling, reach up in Virabhadrasana, so you lengthen up into the chest. Drawing the breath into the abdomen. Sharpening the action of that back leg, and then bend the front leg, Virabhadrasana 1, keeping that back leg really firm, turning that thigh, rotating the back of the thigh outwards. Breathing down into the abdomen, finding your right angle with that front leg. Extending from the hips up into the armpits, up into the little fingers, stretching the thumbs towards the back of the room. And then straighten the leg, come back to the center, just release your arms. So just breathe nice and softly. Turn your right toes in steeply, but it's hard to do it from here, isn't it? But you can start here and then rotate on the foot, turning the whole of the leg out. And then pick up the heel, rotate that back leg until the heel is kind of pointing towards the back of the room. And then just bring your hands onto your hips. Just stretch the arms out to the side, so it helps you to feel that the hips are level. So really charging up that back leg, especially the kneecap. Lift the chest, turn the palms to face the ceiling, and then raise the arms up. So I start to lose ceiling height here, but keep reaching up into the little finger side. And then bend front knee. Keep the back leg really straight. Find the right angle. So breathe in nice and softly. So bend in that knee. So Nick, bend the knee a bit more, go a bit wider if you can. So now you're slightly overshooting. So just go a bit wider. Keep that back leg really firm. Tighten that kneecap of that back leg. That's it. And then bend that knee a little more. Breathing down into the abdomen. And then come back to the center and then step or jump the feet back together. So Virabhadrasana 1, warrior pose. So it's the warrior 1. So it takes a considerable amount of energy to do, doesn't it? But as a result, it kind of really does release our energy. So just breathe nice and softly in through the nose, down into the abdomen. So really settle the breath down in the abdominal region, drawing the abdomen kind of towards the spine. So Virabhadrasana 2. So that's the bent leg pose, but where the hips are facing the front, or to this kind of front, not that front. So lift and open the chest. Bring the arms out nice and wide in towards the chest, and then step, go a little bit wider. You need to be a bit wider for this one. Just feel that you can just set your median where everything feels kind of like it's evenly working. Breathing down into your abdominal region. Turn your left toes in and the right leg and foot all the way out. So the pelvis stays facing the front, or the side, I suppose, isn't it? So keep this leg really firm, like we did last week with that back leg stand, that kind of Virabhadrasana leg. And then bend the front leg, but keep hitting firmly down into that back leg. bend the front knee, find a right angle with this front knee. Look over the middle finger of the right hand. So bending that leg, this back leg stays straight. So this kneecap needs to stay firm. The thigh needs to hit firmly into the bones. Bend that knee, so Nick go a bit wider. Ruth a little bit wider. Sorry, not wider, bend the knee a bit more. Lift up into the chest. So from the pelvis, it often feels like we're going to roll over to that way. But if you can pelvisize the pose, lengthening out from the pelvis and up into the chest, then the pose feels more even. Okay, straighten the leg, bring the hands onto the hips, swap the feet around, turn the right toes in slightly, and the left foot all the way out. Just being mindful that this heel lines up with the arch, the instep of the back foot. So just even out the activity of the legs to start off with. Feel like they're working together rather than separately. So we pelvisize the pose, we radiate out from the pelvis, down into the legs, from the legs up into the pelvis, from the pelvis up into the chest, out into the arms. Keeping that right leg really straight, bend the front leg. Look over the middle finger of your left hand. So find a right angle here. Pelvisize the pose so that you broaden out from the pelvis into the back leg, into the front leg, up into the chest. From the heart area, reach out into both arms. Breathing down into the abdomen. Okay, straighten that front leg, come back to the front with both feet, and then step or jump the feet back together. So just bring your energy back to the breath. Just listening to the breath. So listen to the sound of the breath as it enters and as it exits. You're going to stand there. Excellent. Long, slow, deep, deliberate breaths. So we're going to do, so we've done Virabhadrasana 1, Virabhadrasana 2, and we can do Virabhadrasana 3. I need to move my mat a little bit so I've got a bit more height in the ceiling. So you can relax for a second, I'll show you. Virabhadrasana 3 is where we come into Virabhadrasana 1 to start off with. So we kind of bring the hips all the way around, picking up that heel, turning that leg so that these hips are kind of drawing outwards. Then you keep that back leg straight, you bend the front knee. So Virabhadrasana 1, lengthening up into the little fingers, stretching out into the thumbs. Then you bring the chest over that bent knee. I hope I've got ceiling height for this. And then you're going to see you straighten the leg, the hips are level, push into the heel of that back leg like you're doing Virabhadrasana with that back leg. Then come back into Virabhadrasana 1. So tricky to do and talk at the same time. So let's try that together. Now, if you know that you're gonna kind of wobble about, you can always kind of have the wall for your hand. So, you've got something or the back of a chair to kind of, in fact, let's get the back of a chair, just so you've got that, so that when you come from here into here, you've got something to help you to balance with your hands, or you can just try it freestyle. So just be in Tadasana, just letting your breath settle. Drawing the breath in through the nose, down into the abdomen. Bring your arms out nice and wide in towards the chest, and then step. Extend your arms up and then swing the legs around for Virabhadrasana 1. So that back leg is firm, the front leg bends, the hips are level. Then bring the chest over the front leg and then hop in with that back leg. And then see if you can straighten the standing leg. Use a chair to help you to balance if you need it. So you have to hop in first and then kick that back leg up. So see if you can get that leg as high as your chest. So using the back of a chair or whatever. That's it. So lifting that back leg, Tadasana-izing, Virabhadrasana-izing that back leg. Turn the toes of that back leg down towards the floor. So you turn the leg in turn. Good. Keep your head lifted, head lifted, head lifted, head lifted. That's it. Okay, step. So from there, step back into Virabhadrasana. 1. And then step or jump the feet back together. Good. So who found that easy? Thumbs up, sideways, down. Good. Well, everyone found it hard. So that's that's good, because it should be, because it's a tricky pose, because one of the problems is trying to lift that back leg, and then the other problem is back balancing. In fact, it's probably balancing first and then lifting that back leg. So it's useful to do it in the middle of the room, but it's also useful to do it using support. So everyone on this other side, we're gonna use the back of a chair or like a table or a windowsill or something. So we're gonna start in Tadasana, and then we're gonna just bend at the hips and then just hinge at the hips, and then have your hands on the back of your chair. So measure your distance, so you're not kind of leaning away, you're not leaning in. Your legs are at a right angle to your hips. Your hips are at a right angle. I'm not sure what I'm trying to say. Your legs are parallel to, your torso is parallel to the floor. Your legs are at 90 degrees. So just push your hands onto the back of the chair and then lift and open the chest. So don't let your head hang down, because that instantly becomes heavy. Lift the front of the chest. So hit the legs back, hit the fronts of the thighs through to the backs of the thighs. Turn those thighs inwards. Lift the seat bones up away from the heels. Project from the lowest part of the abdomen towards the diaphragm, towards the collarbone. Spread the toes of the right foot, and then this time we're gonna, sorry, no, that's the wrong foot. Spread the toes of the left foot, and this time we're gonna raise up that right leg. So lift the right leg up towards the ceiling, so it comes level with your body. Keep that standing leg straight in Tadasana. Now, when you lift that leg, chances are your toes are probably pointing out slightly to the side. So turn the thigh inwards, the front thigh inwards. Turn the inner knee up towards the ceiling, so the toes are pointing directly towards the floor. Lift and open the chest. So the standing leg needs to be straight, the lifted leg needs to be straight. Can you lift that leg any higher, Nick? So lift from the thigh, that's it. Keep the head lifted, looking forwards. Good, breathing nice and softly. So that's a nice flat back there, Ruth. So keep extending into that back heel. Okay, and then just gently release. And then come back into a standing position. Bring your feet hip width apart, turn your toes in, raise your arms, thumbs into the crease of the elbows. You can always just bring your arms onto the lift of the chair if you're overworking your back. Otherwise, just hang down into Uttanasana. So poses like Virabhadrasana 3, we don't do them very often, do we? But you need space, and quite a few of us are working in kind of limited space, but that shouldn't mean that we don't practice our more difficult poses, because although they're more physically complex and physically demanding, the energy that we get as a result of those poses is profound. So by exerting lots of energy, we find our energy. So breathe into the pose, down into the abdomen. Okay, and then just gently release your hands to the floor and then come up into standing position. Good. So just to kind of counter the effort of the previous pose, we'll come down into Supta Baddha Konasana. So come down onto the floor, come down onto your back, pull your feet in towards the knees, and then just release down into Supta Baddha Konasana, just to rest the spine, broaden out that abdominal region, drawing the abdominal walls down towards the floor. Just continue to breathe down into the abdomen. So your heart rate might be a little higher than usual. When we do those really strenuous poses like Virabhadrasana 3, the heart rate really does raise, bringing us up into the aerobic zone. So I often say that yoga practice, if you're kind of giving yourself some challenging poses, it's very similar to high intensity impact training, where you kind of give yourself a really hard workout and then rest, give yourself a hard workout, then rest. So those more challenging poses really do raise the heart rate, although we don't probably feel it in the same way that we might do if we were out running. But rather than kind of conjuring up that energy and just keep on exerting it like you would do if you were running, you exert that energy and release, and then you feel the effects of that energy much more with much more levelness. And so in this pose of Supta Baddha Konasana, maybe you feel that there is kind of life going on inside the body. There's energy inside, a lightness inside. And it's just as a response to the physical exertion. So just continuing to breathe down into the abdomen if you can. Listening to the sounds of the breath. Okay, and when you're ready, just draw your knees towards each other. Then just roll yourself onto your right side and then come back up into a seated position. So we're just going to sit in cross legs. We can do a little bit of Brahmari. So Brahmari again is a pranayama that really does help to kind of connect us with our energy. So just sitting a good cross legs, sit on something if you find it difficult to extend the spine upwards. So sit on a folded blanket or sit on some blocks. If you kind of struggle to lift the chest like this, then sit on something underneath your seat bones. Otherwise, just look down at the floor. Look at something that doesn't move. Keep your eyes still in their sockets. Just feel the lightness of energy. So we're going to do 3 or 4 Brahmari pranayama cycles. So remember, it's the kind of normal in breath and then a slightly longer, deeper out breath. And we hum the out breath on a low note. And as we hum that low note, we observe and we feel the energy and the vibration of that breath. And we try to stay connected to that vibration as we exhale and then as we inhale. So it's good to do this with eyes closed if you feel confident to do it with eyes closed. Breathe in normally for the moment. So take a normal out breath and then a normal in breath, and then we'll hum the out breath over a low note. One more. And then just breathe normally in through the nose and out through the nose. And just open your eyes. Take a good deep in breath. Lifting the chest with that in breath, and then with the out breath, turn to the left. Breathe in samanically down into the abdomen. Just come back to the center, grip around your knees. Take a good deep in breath down into the abdomen. And then turn to the left. And then just gently come back to the center. Good. Just stretch out your legs for a moment. Just extend into the heels, and then just have your hands at the sides of the hips. Lift and open the chest. Raise the arms up. Just stay here or there if you've got problems with your back. So your feet are kind of hip width apart. If you don't have any problems with your back, lifting from the front chest to all the way up towards the collarbone, come forwards, just hold on to the feet. So just a gentle forward bending action. If you can't reach your feet, then just use a belt around your feet, just holding on to the belt. Or if you don't have a belt, if you don't have a belt handy, just have your hands pressing down onto your shins, lifting and opening the chest. Breathing down into the abdominal region, sharpening the action of the legs. So we're not coming all the way forwards, we're just coming forward slightly. Breathing nice and softly. Lifting the front chest. If you can bend your elbows out to the side a little, come forwards a little bit more. Okay, and then just gently come back to the center. And then come down onto your back. We're just going to go down into Setu Bandha. So with the block in your back. So just with one of these bricks in the back, pull the feet towards you. If you're not doing Setu Bandha today, you can do Viparita Karana. You can put a folded blanket underneath the small of your back if you want to. Otherwise, lifting the seat bones up. So really driving the seat bones up, then rotating the triceps around to the biceps so that you come right up onto the tops of the shoulders. Placing the brick in the sacrum spine. Making sure that you're in a really good straight line along your mat. And then gripping the sides of the mat. And then if you can, you straighten one leg out. See how that feels for your back, straighten the other leg out. If that feels okay in your back, then you can straighten both legs. Breathing nice and softly in through the nose and out through the nose. Listening to the sounds of the breath. Rotating the triceps around to the biceps so that you come right up onto the tops of the shoulders. Keeping the legs actively in Tadasana, rotating the thighs inwards. The fronts of the thighs inwards, broadening the backs of the thighs outwards. It's not just the thighs, it's the shins, turning the fronts of the shins in, broadening the back of the calf muscles. Okay, let's just bend the knees towards the block if you're in Setu Bandha. Just lift seat bones up off the floor and then just guide yourself down onto the floor. Pull your knees in towards your chest. Just have a little rock from side to side, from top to bottom, just giving yourself a gentle massage on your spine. Just experimenting with where you bring the knees. The closer you bring your knees to your chest, the higher up the back you find the massage. If you bring the knees away from the chest as far as they'll go, so your arms are straight, then you move down into the lower back. And then just roll onto your side and then sit yourself up. And then for the last couple of minutes, just get a folded blanket. Make sure that it's kind of well folded. So a folded blanket underneath your head. So it feels level underneath your head. Just move any equipment out of the way if it's in the way. Apart from if it's a cat, then they can stay where they are. And then just have the blanket touching the tops of the shoulders. Just pick up the head and lengthen the back of your neck. Just to give you a little length, bend your knees, pick up the seat bones, draw the buttock flesh away from the backs of your knees. If you feel like you've worked hard in your lumbar and you might have kind of overworked it slightly, then put a bolster underneath your knees. Otherwise, just make sure you're in a really good straight line and then just release your legs. If you prepare yourself well, then the pose becomes immediately lighter. So just feel that you can draw the breath in through the nose down into the abdomen. Be conscious of the energy that you have released through your practice. Just allow the body to become heavy on the floor. So unhook the muscles of the arms and the legs. Listen to the sound of the breath. Just feel that the energy of the body becomes more distinct the more you just let go of the physical body. So as you allow the limbs to become heavy, perhaps you start to feel your energy just rise into the top of the skin, to the uppermost skin. Use the in-breath and the out-breath to distribute that energy evenly throughout the body. Use the tips of the toes, the tips of the fingers, the top of the head. When you're ready, just gently begin to wiggle your toes, wiggle your fingers, just bringing yourself back into this pose of Shavasana. And then bend your knees, draw your knees in towards your chest, just have a little rock from side to side. Giving yourself just a gentle massage on the spine, just a grounding massage. And then just gently roll over onto your right side. Just stay down for a breath or two. And straighten out the top leg, come back up into a seated position. Just a final cross legs with your hands in Namaste, just a final spinal lift. Close your eyes, draw your breath in through your nose down into the abdomen. Conscious of the energy that you have released through your practice this morning, that good, positive, healthy flow of clean energy that the extensions, the forward bends, the twists, the inversions bring to the body and to the mind. And then draw your chin down to meet your chest. Spend a moment to acknowledge the positive energy you've created inside. And then send some of that positive energy out into the world. when you bring your hands back down toward your knees, palms facing upwards. As you raise your head, just gently allow your eyes to softly open and the focus to softly come back. Thank you very much. Thank you. So hopefully you feel nice and light and energized, and you've got lots of energy to do lots of positive things with your day. So thank you very much.